Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel Stuck in the Mud. Today we are talking about not fighting our thoughts. Don't try and fight the mind. It is really difficult, I know, because as someone with OCD, I know I've done it myself over many years. We try and reason, change our thoughts, replace them, try and get rid of them. And you know what? It doesn't work. I have probably done this many times over the years where, you want to kind of replace them. So instead of negative thoughts, we have positive thoughts, or we try and work them out. And working them out is where a lot of the problem starts, because we're involving ourselves with our thoughts and it makes them multiply almost. They just keep coming. They keep coming back stronger. And we find ourselves like trapped in that OCD cycle. And it can result in us having lots of emotions attached to that, like sadness, fear, frustration. We're going to get really overwhelmed. And, you get all those guilt feelings of depression, shame. It doesn't end, you just end up back in that cycle. And it's a lot of the advice, and it's not helpful advice we see out there today, because I know I've got caught up in all this where people will say you need to change your negative thoughts to positive ones. Well, it doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work is because as human beings, we have a negative bias. We're hardwired to look out for negative situations in our environment. And it's all going back to that primitive brain where we're in that fight and flight mode. So, whereas years ago we might be trying to run away from a tiger, and but now we're faced with, maybe in social media, we have lots of triggers, lots of negative articles that we might be reading, and it might trigger us to go into that fight or flight mode and try and work out our chances of a negative scenario happening or something like that. This is just an example. And it's really easy to get sucked in and try and reason, and it just doesn't work, because the more we involve ourselves, the more we get back into the OCD loop, and the cycle just begins again. And it is really, really easy to get hooked in, because OCD is always trying to get you hooked in. And I understand that. But we have to get good at just leaving the thoughts alone, because there's that old saying, what we resist persists. And if we can just let them be there and not involve ourselves in them, it's amazing how much they don't bother us anymore. It's when we kind of get sucked in and we start believing them, I think that's where the problem starts. We start questioning, what would happen, what could happen, and it's really, really hard. I understand, and I know it's not easy, but it is possible. And it's just having that consistency with letting them be there. And I know I've talked about this in previous videos, where it's almost like welcoming them in, because if we resist them and try and push them, it'll just perpetuate that cycle. And, I've done it many, many times. And, the brain only knows multiplication. It doesn't know subtraction, divide. It just wants to flood our brains with more and more and more negative thoughts. And I think we've got, as human beings, we have this big attachment to negative and positive. But if we kind of, obviously there's things that seem more negative than positive, but if we kind of just treat them as people that suffer from OCD, we need to treat them all the same. We just need to go, okay, I'm aware of you there. So if we have a negative thought, it's there, but we just let it be there. And the more we practice this, and I know myself, the more I practice this, the easier and easier it became. And it's not a straight path, and you'll have your ups and downs, but the more and more I did this, the more I do this, it does actually work. And it is really unhelpful, because everywhere we go now, especially on social media, there's a lot of people saying, well, you need to think more positive. And I found that really challenging, I say, in the last few years, because I think it's become more pronounced on social media, that people talking about you need to be positive. And whereas that is good, it's great being positive, you enjoy those positive thoughts, but we do get negative thoughts. Everybody gets intrusive thoughts, negative thoughts. They pop up all the time, but we don't have to get sucked in by them. And that is the big difference with people that suffer from OCD and anxiety. We just tend to hook ourselves into them and latch onto them. And that's where they increase. And, we can do this. It's just treating them all the same. They're just a thought. It's just a thought. And the more we do that, the less we believe in them, and we just treat them for what they are. They are just thoughts. So I hope this is helpful, because I know it's very easy to get sidetracked, because there's someone always telling you, well, you need to do this, you need to do it this way. And this is, this has been scientifically proven. The more we resist them, the more these negative thoughts will persist. So I have got better at treating them all the same. It's kind of going, okay, there's a negative thought, because like you say, we all, as OCD sufferers, we like to label them as negative thoughts. And some things aren't pleasant to think about, but it's very natural for them to pop up in our minds, but we don't have to latch on. And I really hope this advice helps you, because it's helped me immensely over the last few years, where I don't have to believe in everything my mind produces. I don't have to get sucked into it. I don't have to latch onto it, because we are so much more than our thoughts. You are not your thoughts. And I really hope you can practice this, just be aware of them there, welcome them almost, you can be like, hi, I know you're there, and I'm not getting involved. You can do what you want. Thought, but I'm not getting involved. And the less involvement, the better, of course, because the more we get involved, the more they will probably like to kind of repeat themselves. But don't get disheartened, because again, this is where the emotions come up. We'll get really disheartened and frustrated about, but it keeps coming back. And it's just knowing that it's okay for it to be there. Let it be there, because you really are not your thoughts. You're so much more than that. I'll see you in the next video.